Mud, exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you. Mud, love's sweetest reward. Let it flow, it flows back to you. The Enterprise, she is a beautiful lady and we love her. The Enterprise promises something for everyone.
Oh, wow, Mike. You're doing a good Love Boat impersonation. Everyone, welcome to Yelling.
All right, Captain got it.
Yeah. Welcome to Yelling Of course I got it. I'm old. Welcome to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, everyone. And I'm your host, Captain Matt Ross. And I'm, of course, joined by my very musical co-host, XO Commander Michael Pontone. How are we doing tonight, Mike? I assume you really liked tonight's episode.
Not bad, Captain. I'm surprised at how much I did enjoy it because it's the polar opposite in tone from the last episode. And by the way, everyone, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary here. Captain is selling himself short. He is not old. He is older than me, and yet he has more hair than me. And he is not all. He's slim. He's in shape. He's a muscular man, and he's got a full head of black hair. Not a couple of hints of gray, but I think the same as me, and I'm 15 years younger than him. So the point is, you're going to be really surprised by how handsome your bridge crew is when you see us on video.
Yeah, it's called good genes. That's it. Clean living. That's what it is, or something to that effect. Well, tonight our episode does not star Gavin MacLeod, nor does it have Isaac as your bartender, but it does have the return of Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Harcourt? That's who it comes back, played by Roger C. Carmel, in a story called I, Mudd. It's the second and last live-action episode of this version of Harry Mudd, and it was written by Stephen Kandel, who wrote the more whorish version of the Harry Mudd series, and it's directed by, very well, by the way, by Mark Daniels. I really like this episode.
Way, way, way better than the last Mudd episode. I couldn't stand that Mudd episode. I thought it was put the women's rights movement back generations. And man, this is like fantastic. It was high sci-fi, high concept sci-fi. Little coincidences, we'll get into them, but very wry sense of humor. It moved at a good pace. There were stakes. Mm-hmm. Characters acted like themselves. And I really liked the conclusion, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think also part of it, now this was written a whole bunch of times or rewritten a bunch of times. This actually came from a concept by Gene Roddenberry called Reason, which is actually an Isaac Asimov story in his Robots series. Those are really good. I don't know if you've read any of the Isaac Asimov stories where you have the 3 rules of robotics. I think you have, haven't you?
No, but believe it or not, I think I'm the only person on the planet who thought that the movie I, Robot with Will Smith was actually pretty good. And they talk about the rules of robotics, which, of course, I mean, listen, Gene Roddenberry borrowed from Isaac Asimov repeatedly. I mean, Isaac Asimov made the concept of the positronic brain, and that is what data is, right?
Yeah, well, Isaac Asimov made the concept of the positronic brain. So, and also data. Yeah, you just said Gene Roddenberry. But what they did is
he used it. Sorry.
Yes, he did. And they even quote the 3 laws of robotics in Isaac Asimov in Star Trek The Next Generation.
Hold on. Let me see if I can remember them. Can I try?
Sure, go ahead.
A robot cannot. No. I'm just trying to. A robot cannot harm a human by action or inaction. A robot must do what a human tells them, and a robot, unless it contradicts the first one, I can't remember the third.
The third one is a robot must protect its own existence unless it so would conflict with the first or second law. And yes, I don't memorize them. I did Google it. But I will tell you, if you keep going in the Robot series and the Foundation series, Isaac Asimov has all of his stories actually linked together. Even his pulpy science fiction stories under the story is called Lucky Star and the Space Pirates. Those were sold for pulp magazines. They actually also connect kind of to the Robots and Empire series, it's actually known, where the robots are secretly behind things, maybe. Spoiler But I will tell you, there's another law called the zeroth law, where a robot or robots cannot allow humanity to harm itself, or through their inaction allow humanity to come to a harm, where they actually become overseers in the grand background controlling our destiny. But they're not malevolent like other robots are. They are not the Borg. They are not, let's say, robots on a planet that seem to have designs and taking over the universe to do all the jobs of humanity.
Yes, Captain. And we shall serve them, and you will be happy. And controlled.
That's what Mudd sort of is about. It's a little bit weird. The story is the Enterprise is being taken over by one guy named Norman. But let's first find out what NBC actually has a press release saying on this. Would you like to hear it, sir?
Yes, please, Captain.
This is from an NBC press release from October 13th, 1967. The Enterprise crew finds itself at the mercy of an Earthling who rules a colony of female androids in Mudd on NBC television network Star Trek Colorcast on Friday. That is not really what this story is about.
Don't you believe in male androids, Harry?
Well, I suppose they have their uses.
But that's what NBC does. They were concentrating on the women in the story. In fact, they were really excited about the idea of the twins being in everything, and so was everything else, and I do have a funny story from it. This concept, like I said, came from Gene Roddenberry. Stephen Kandel rewrote it a whole bunch of times, and D.C. Fontana rewrote portions of it. Gene Roddenberry wrote portions of it. Gene L. Kuhn wrote portions of it. And then they hired this new 20-year-old kid named David Gerrold to rewrite pieces of it, even though he didn't get a credit on the screen. He's now part of the Writers Guild of America, so they got him on the cheap. Do you know who David Gerrold is?
No, sir.
David Gerrold wrote some story that's coming up called The Trouble with the Tribbles. It came up with the idea of credits. That's why LaSalle says in the last episode, credits to Navy beans. He has done a lot of Star Trek. He's also written a concept. It was supposed to be an allegory for AIDS in Star Trek The Next Generation called Blood and Fire, but that was not accepted by the network. There is a Star Trek in the Star Trek Continues, I believe, a fan film called Blood and Fire, and it does actually star Denise Crosby. It's actually really good. It's by the group that has a original series Enterprise bridge in Ticonderoga, New York, which one day I hope to get to. So that's actually pretty cool. And David Gerrold has also written this series of books called The Star Wolf, which is supposed to be a parody of Star Trek, where it's the ship that's not the premier starship in the fleet like the Enterprise, but the screw-ups, kind of like Lower Decks. And he also wrote this series of books, among other things, called The Battle of the Tor. That's a TCHTORR, where an alien invasion comes to Earth, not in spaceships, but their biology and ecology come first. I actually met him.
Like pod people.
Not like pod people. First come the diseases, then come microorganisms, then come larger creatures. Everyone worries, like, when are you going to get done with that, David? And he tells everyone to screw off. But I've actually met him. When I actually met him the first time, as a smart alecky 13-year-old, I had him autograph his book, A Day for Damnation, and in our group, I wonder who it was, said, hey, now that you've defaced our copy of the book, will you give me a discount? And then I met him in the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, and I said, hi, Mr. Gerald. He goes, weren't you that kid who said that I defaced your book by signing it? And I went, no. Yes, it was me. So anyway.
Wow. You remembered.
Yes, he did, and I bought it. But that's the real kind of background.
Let's get into the episode, Captain.
Okay. This has got a lot of fun stuff.
It's a good episode.
All right, so here we are. We start off on the Enterprise, and McCoy is talking to Spock. I actually like that little banter between the parties over there, where McCoy is saying that this new crewman, Norman, is a weirdo because he doesn't talk about his personal life. He's very cold and has no emotions, and Spock is looking at him and go like, oh, really? I kind of thought that little banter bit was kind of neat. And he's not come from a physical, and Spock's retort's actually quite classic.
Besides, he has avoided 2 appointments that I've made for his physical exam without reason.
That's not at all surprising, Doctor. He's probably terrified of your beads and rattles.
What'd you think of that little opening there?
Very nice. I like that it's jumping right into it. It's not even a cold opening. I mean, this is the opposite of a cold opening.
Well,
so much happens before the credits even roll.
That's true.
And we're right off the bat again showing and kind of surmising the later points that are going to be raised, where the androids and Spock are very similar in many ways. But yeah. It's good, and I like that McCoy is the first one to kind of figure out that there's something wrong. Again, I would be fascinated to see the prequel to this. You know, how did this guy get on the ship? How did Mudd get him an assignment? Did they hack the computers and say, hey, you're getting a new crewman? Can anyone just walk onto a Starfleet ship wearing the uniform and say, hey, I live here now? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And, of course, then we get right into it with him hijacking the ship. What does this remind you of? A little episode called Brothers?
That's quite true. Brothers from TNG with Data and Lore. One of the things that Star Trek was proud of itself in this era, at least, was they had a real lack of robots and kid geniuses, which is the exact opposite of TNG in some way. But this is not actually a robot. This is an android, just like Data. This is I like that opening as well. You do wonder, how the heck did this guy get on here, this Norman? He attacks auxiliary control, and he basically takes over the ship. I like the fact that, because this is 60s tech, you have like that loud buzzing noise for like manual override, because them old computers actually used to do that when there was a problem. That and a bell. That's why Landru was ringing, by the way. So I think I mentioned that. So I did like that. But then we're like, oh my goodness, this guy is taking over thing. And here's a time that security is actually doing its job. Security gets to auxiliary control and realizes that there's some guy on the ship. And but then we go to another place. We go to manual override, which is actually engineering. So I also like the fact that we have the engineering section. Norman goes in there and basically kicks everyone's butt, including Scotty. No one messes with Scotty. But, yeah, he takes over everything.
And you know what? I like the fact that we've seen Scotty really hold his own before, so it's like, all right, this is some serious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone gets their butt. But I do like the fact that as Kirk is just about to leave the bridge, Norman comes up there and grabs him. I think that's actually pretty well done. It's kind of like Shatner is like, I'm a little surprised. It is kind of interesting to see that come on up. But when Norman announces, I've taken over everything, we are guiding you, and then he lifts up his shirt and he shows his belly button, and it's actually like, in the enhanced version, it's a stainless steel looking metal contraptions, but in the original version, it still looks electronic. It's like circuit boards. I actually thought that was a kind of a cool effect. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was great. I'm kind of curious how they pull that off.
Yeah,
because the makeup looks great and it seems seamless. Like I didn't see a line, I didn't see an obvious cut.
Right, but that is the cut because it's obviously a model. But it's really well done. By the way, I just want to going back to
skin.
Oh yeah, no, that was pretty cool. That's a close up of a model. But I do want to point out to you one other thing. Even though it's Mark Daniels, that one little minor fight scene is actually well shot. So Mark Daniels did a terrible job with fight scenes normally, but this was actually a good one. That quick fight scene, probably because it was quick. So here we are. The ship's been taken over. We are going to a planet that no one's been to. It's unexplored. They don't even name it. And they're just on a ride. And they have to stand still. They can't interfere with it. Spock realizes, or by mind melding or feeling it, that Norman is shut down. And they can't undo the sabotage. So they're on for a ride. It is a kind of good mystery. And then we break to our credits. So...
Right.
That entire opening was well done. It was well paced. It was tight. It was quick, and we finally get the idea that there's something going on. I also like the way the actor playing the robot is talking like every 3 words. It was actually very hard for him to do, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought, even though when you think of like robot conversations in the past, they all sound like this, or if you see that terrible sitcom like Small Wonder, where the robot Vicky, she talks like this all the time. But this I thought was actually well done. That name of the actor is Richard Tatro, by the way.
I thought it was very good, and I also liked that there was this, as I said to my captain, we were actually chatting about the episode before. When I was watching this, I'm like, so wait a second, why is Data unique? And then I was watching them, and I was like, oh, this is why Data is unique, because these guys are robots, they're automatons, they're not at his level. They don't have a positronic brain. So
right.
Whoever, and we'll get into this now. I mean, come on, we have to move this along. We've been chatting 15 minutes. We haven't even gotten to Mudd yet.
Well,
we get to Mudd.
Yes. I was just going to tell you that was part of the problem on the original script. They got a half hour into it. They didn't even have it. And they had different quotes. They had a religious end to it where a crazy preacher had like 3 robots named Norman. They had a woman who wanted to be changed into a robot to last forever. There was no action at all. And they had this one big issue, which is that one of the scenes was that they wanted to show an asteroid with everyone on the Enterprise beamed to it. And Justman was like, what are you, crazy? So that's going to cost a lot of money. And David Gerald came up with an idea. Why don't we just say the entire crew is beamed down? And that they went with that. They said but didn't tell in this one instance. But as you're right. That's we get here.
I must say that's a gracious invitation. There is a word. Among us, there is no corresponding meaning, but it seems to mean something to you human. And what is that word? Please.
To try and keep it simple, stupid, we got immediately to the planet, and we're taken to Harcourt Fenton Mudd, again played by Roger C. Carmel.
To be absolutely accurate, Laddybuck, you should refer to me as Mudd the First.
I do like this opening scene. We meet him, and it's also Chekhov's first meeting. In fact, Chekhov has given a line, you know this man, Captain? Captain. Yes, he's a criminal. And we have that little banter of how'd you escape from jail? Well, I did this and that. That is a tale. They actually don't tell you. And he goes I was selling things. Did you pay for the rights to sell those things?
He did not pay royalties. Knowledge, should be free to all.
Well, and it's just very funny, that little, again, banter between Kirk and Roger Cormel, Harcourt Fenton Mudd about how he wound up here, which is by accident.
Of course, I left.
He broke jail.
I borrowed transportation.
He stole a spaceship.
The patrol reacted in a hostile manner.
They fired at him.
They've got no respect for private property. They damaged the bloody spaceship. Well, I got away, but I couldn't navigate, so I wandered out through unmapped space, and here I found Mudd.
I like that little bit.
Right. But now, okay, yes, except that I was talking about this before. The issue is that there is some sloppy writing going on here. That the guy who was known in the last episode for having a bunch of androids that he designed, that he was shopping around, just happens to end up on a planet full of androids, and it's complete coincidence. That's, well, come on.
No, wait, he wasn't
obviously...
He wasn't selling androids. He was selling Vulcan mining techniques. What androids are you talking about? It's not the one with... What I think you're getting confused with something. Who was selling androids?
Wait, did Mudd not have androids?
No, he did not have androids. He crashed here. He couldn't control.
No, in the last episode.
The last episode, those were actual women who were taking a drug to make them look. That's in Mudd's women. They were looking extra sexy by taking a drug that makes them appear more beautiful. That's the Venus drug.
Okay, then you know what, everyone. The collective unconscious made a little mishmash in my brain. I thought that he had brought androids last time, and I guess at some point somehow I realized that Mudd was associated with androids.
Well,
and honestly, the last episode was so bad, it was very forgettable, the details.
Well, there you go. I mean, I will tell you that one of the dresses makes an appearance at the very end when there's an ensemble scene. The 2 versions of the green dress on the woman you were really enamored with appears at the very end. So how about that? Is that
that would do
there
it.
You go. Maybe that's what you were thinking of. Yeah, we'll use that as an excuse. That's the ticket. But that's where we find out Harry Mudd's here, and the reason why he wanted to get the Enterprise is he wanted to exact revenge for being arrested. He basically asked the androids to the androids wanted to get some more people to study them, and he came up with the idea of getting the Enterprise there, and he thinks he's going to leave the planet once the Enterprise crew is there, so he won't be trapped. That's actually funny. They won't let him leave. And you did notice that everyone looks the same. All the androids look the same. Those are actually twins, by the way. The Alice copy.
Yes, you mentioned.
Yes, what's really neat is when you see 4 of them, what they did was a new technique. Since there's no CGI and this is all done in actual film, they filmed half the scene by, as Roger Carmel relates, by putting a piece of black fabric over half the lens. They'd stop the film, reverse the film, then have the women stand on the other side and film it again, but they would only know it after the dailies were run the next day. And remember, this is done by developers, so it takes a long time, but they hit it on the mark almost every time. It's pretty cool.
Let me just say, of course, and I love in-camera optics. Famously, they were all done in a modern-esque film of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Did a bunch of in-camera things. My question is, did they shoot this on 35 millimeter?
Yes. How's that?
35 millimeter. That's amazing.
Isn't it? It is pretty amazing. And, you know, the reason why the camera work is done so well is Mark Daniels. He's the one who invented the 3-camera technique for the I Love Lucy series for sitcoms. He's a master craftsman. So you do have that. The thing that's neat about these characters, one of the actresses, they are twins, by the way. That's Alice and Ray Andrus. They are the Alice series. One got a screen credit for Alice 1 to 250, and it's Allie. And the other one is got for 251 to 500. So they would call one number and one the other number, so direction would be clear on the set. I think that's funny. One of the other items, I wanted to actually read this because it's funny. They were looking for twins. They didn't know where to get twins. And the casting director said he called SAG. They didn't help. But this just happened. He was driving down Hollywood Boulevard, and there were a couple of twins walking along. They were good looking. Wow. Sexy looking.
They're pretty good looking twins, yeah.
Right. That's not the main ones. As I recall, even a little on the experienced side, if you know what I mean. So I pulled my car over and said, "Hey, excuse me, do you want to be on TV?" It sounded like a line made all the worse because I didn't have a business card to give. We didn't carry them in those days, so I wrote my number down, but they called. So basically, and they were horrible actresses, and the ones that we're talking about are in the background. They're the Macy's, I believe. One time, though, the other story about it, because they're experienced, they were wearing less clothing than all the female stars in this. They went to the commissary, and as they were bending over to pick up stuff, people were coughing because they had no underwear on.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, there's a lot of it.
Why weren't they wearing underwear?
Listen, people wear lots of don't wear things. Listen, you've been to the courthouse. You've seen the things that we've seen. Come on.
Those are degenerates who are having to go to housing court.
Not everyone's a degenerate there, Michael. Shame on you. Well, some are.
I am.
Well, that's true, but I haven't seen you.
All the members of staff are, especially the clerks.
Hey.
You know that.
Yeah, not
and
all.
And the judges.
No.
We're talking to you, the judge who listens. Matt told me to say this. Please.
I'm going to have to take the agonizer out, Mike. But one of the things that Robert Justman liked, Robert Justman, who hated everything, loved this. He loved the idea of twins and also all these female robots around.
Double your pleasure, double your fun.
The original costumes, they were supposed to be wearing simple, like, white onesies, like Norman is. They came up with these other outfits that are actually less revealing than normal. If you take a look carefully, like almost full bodysuits. That's actually...
Yeah, no, I actually like the costume design quite a bit. I like Norman. Like, they cast a good-looking guy who's muscular, but also is doing a good job at pretending to be an android. And I don't know, they hit his face very well. He looks like he's not malignant, but at the same time is also very capable of defending and overpowering you physically. Let's get into the episode a little bit. We've been talking about all the background of the episode here.
All right. Well, okay. So I've talked about the beginning part. Let's go over from here. The next part we're talking about is after they got captured. We actually meet Harcourt Fenton Mudd's wife. That's Kay Elliott. She, Estella, by the way, she always plays like miserable old women or hag. She later becomes Aunt Hagatha in Bewitched. I love that bit with Harcourt Fenton Mudd, and behind every great man is a woman, and every time I think of her, I go farther into space.
I think of her constantly, and every time I do, I go further out into space.
But then they're trapped. And you see Scotty come down later. Basically, all the androids have beamed up to the ship and have taken the entire crew down to the planet. So they're all down there. And they've got to figure a way how to get back. But the androids were part of some sort of alien observer race. And they're the only things left. I thought that was fascinating in the science fiction end. Why were these aliens in our universe with observers and a whole bunch of robots as servants? The servants part I could see, but what were they observing exactly? Were they the forerunners?
No, but it doesn't. I mean,
of everything.
Of who? No. Of the listeners?
When they got there, the alien, Norman says that they came from another galaxy and they came to observe. So I'm wondering, are they the ones that seeded the universe type of thing? Even though they don't look like that. I thought, it's a good question.
Sure.
And what is it?
I mean, that was talked about in the TNG episode, The Chase, right?
That's correct. And several other things. The Preservers. It's also in another episode in the third season of TOS, which is the Paradise Syndrome. This is actually weird, is that all they're trying to offer is, we want you to be happy. And here's Kirk being the killjoy. We want you to take care of you. We want to give you immortality. We want you to be intellectually and physically stimulated. We just don't want you to do work. What do you think about that concept? It's, enforced pleasure.
Laboring without end.
Dying and crying and lamenting over our burdens.
Only this way can we be happy.
Well, no, but I mean, they dropped that pretty quickly, and I really actually enjoy the seduction of that Mudd is offering them, where he's not just saying, hey, you're going to be imprisoned here, I want to lock you up. He's kind of almost, even though he doesn't have to, trying to say, like, you'll be happier here. And I really like the whole tempting of the different crew members, where obviously you have someone baser like Chekhov, who's a young guy, is like, hey, come on, you can make love to these beautiful women, they're really into you, they've been programmed by a pervert, so obviously they're going to be down.
That unprincipled, evil-minded, lecherous kulak Harry Mudd programmed you?
Yes, my lord.
This place is even better than Leningrad.
And then Scotty, you can experience all the most amazing technology in the Doctor. You have your own lab. I mean, it's interesting that they didn't even... What?
Yeah, go on. I was going to say, they didn't even McCoy his own still.
Right. Yeah, that would have been smart. That they didn't even really try to tempt Spock or Kirk.
Well, they did tempt Spock with, like, showing him advanced computer stuff, which wasn't really, blinky lights. I do like the fact that you're pointing out that Walter Koenig said that he got a compliment from Mark Daniels for that one scene where he's sitting between the two Alices, where it's more fun than Leningrad, whatever the heck that's supposed to mean. I guess, just silliness.
Leningrad's a city.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessary. Well, it was. It's St. Petersburg. What that has to do with the willingness of female companionship, it's anyone's guess. This also has some other interesting tech issues over here. It's a sort of basic network, even when networks were really in the very, very early stages of computing. Networks did exist. You had DARPANET, precursor to the internet. This is, you have one central computer room to run all the robots. The Enterprise works the same way, kind of. I found that fascinating in this. If you're looking back in time and you see that the idea, the word network is instead, they have a central coordinator when things start to go wrong. They have to coordinate with Norman. Please coordinate. That was the Achilles heel of these robot android things. Did you notice that?
You said about 10 different things, Captain.
Well, I'm just saying it's like, a network. It's the idea of a network that's basic at at this time never came out. And to us, it's like, I built my own server or network in my office. So, that would have seemed like magic, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was kind of neat that this is the idea of a network that didn't exist at the time. Kind of like Battlestar Galactica didn't have a network either. Right. Well, we got the twins. We know everyone's being tempted. And Kirk is like, I want to get back to my ship. And you already said at the beginning, he wants to get back to the ship because it's a beautiful lady.
The Enterprise is not a want or a desire. It is a mechanical device.
No, it's a beautiful lady, and we love her.
Illogical. All units relate. All units. Norman, coordinate.
And we already see the starting of the computer Kirk Fu, where he's going to talk computers into destroying themselves, but not with logic, but with illogic. So that was their plan. What'd you think of that idea?
Smart, and it actually reminded me of once again, I think I've brought this up before. I can't remember exactly where. My beloved Stephen King kind of ripped this off. You've not read any Stephen King, correct?
I have. I've read Thinner, and I've read pieces of The Stand, and the one with the cowboy, whose name I can't remember.
Gunslinger.
Yes,
Roland.
That's it.
So,
Roland.
okay, in the third book, third book, The Wastelands, the heroes are on a train called Charlie.
Charlie says, love my good and plenty.
And it is insane. It is very much like Skynet. It's an artificial intelligence that was super advanced, went mad, and killed his creators. And Charlie is obsessed with riddles, and he challenges his passengers to a game of riddles. And if they don't win, he's going to smash himself into the terminal and commit suicide and kill them in the process. And he's like a futuristic monorail, and he is defeated by the kind of smart aleck in the bunch, asking a bunch of nonsensical riddles that are more like stupid jokes that fry his brains. Very similarly, cause him to short out and then stop. So who knows?
Well, yeah, everyone borrows from everyone. As I said, from Norman Spinard's Doomsday Machine, he said, if you're going to steal, why not steal from the best? Which was he stole from Moby Dick. There you go. It's the same, very similar. But here, there's no stealing here. This is all an original work, but sort of. Again, it's based on some ideas from Isaac Asimov, but I do like the idea that these robots are basically forcing people to be happy, and their way to illogic their way out of it. It just shows you how simple these robots are. Just saying I really like that ship, it makes you wonder how simple were the aliens that ran them are.
Well,
but
we don't know how long they've been gone for, and who knows? Maybe they started off as a toaster. Maybe they've been slowly evolving, like Wally.
They were designed to take care of their master's needs, and even though their masters are all dead, you do have to question them. If they're all dead, how did they die? If they're trying to protect their masters,
no, that doesn't.
It's not like
the thing. That doesn't bother me because they could have been there for 1 billion years. And
that's
eventually, eventually they could die from just disease or stagnation, or they chose not to reproduce, or they killed themselves, or they chose not to maintain their civilization. That didn't. Time equalizes everything.
That's that. I guess so. I just like to put it together with other robot stories that we've had so far, and I always like to say in my mind that Dr. Soong visited these planets like XO3 in What Are Little Girls Made Of, and this unknown planet, which later, and to study the robots there to make his datas and all those robots, just to get like a baseline idea.
From you, Data, you are fully functional, aren't you?
Of course, but
How fully?
in every way, of course. I am programmed in multiple techniques.
And one of the other things is, since, we get to a point where the robots free themselves of Harry Mudd and the Enterprise crew escapes, do they create their own society and their own civilization? Because they were there to develop the planet for something. Are they members of the Federation? We never hear from them.
Are they the beginning of the Borg?
No, they're not. Everything is not the Borg, for God's sakes.
Just saying.
There's so many different interpretations of the Borg, even in video games. But I do like how they try and figure out they have to overload the network of these very simple computers, or a simple circuit computer, to make it realize that it's illogical to the humans act illogically, because as you know, logic is a bird that tweets in a tree. You know that? That's what Spock tells it. I love that. That's kind of funny.
Logic is a little tweeting bird chirping in a meadow. Logic is a wreath of pretty flowers which smell bad.
But what would you like to focus on in this episode, other than it's quick?
I really like the characterization of Mudd. I think he's hilarious. I like that he's not just some mustache-twirling sadist. I like the fact that he's a con man, and he's a crook, and he's a villain, and he's a scam artist, but he's not a murderer. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean like the exact opposite of Star Trek Discovery's Harry Mudd by Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson.
Oh, yeah. That's actually considered one of the best episodes of Discovery, which is not really saying much, but it stars Rainn Wilson.
Not
Rain,
Rainin.
Whatever. Who cares? It's terrible. They make Harry Mudd a murderous psychopath married to a trust fund baby. He basically kills one character repeatedly and others. It doesn't make much sense. There's a follow-up episode in what's known as a Star Trek short where he's scamming people out of something that's closer, but Discovery just doesn't know anything about Star Trek. I mean, I could tell you that all the writers were forced to go to boot camp in the middle of the first season so they could actually watch a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
But oh no. So even though this is very campy and fun, I do actually like it, and I do like the plan that they came up with their idea. First, they have Uhura trick the robots into thinking that she's betraying her fellow crew members by having a robot body that lasts 500,000 years. And who wouldn't want that? Would you like one of those?
500,000 years? No, thank you.
Really?
You
sure?
me?
You get to what? TV be too boring for you?
Look forward to and welcome the sweet release of death. And I'm not depressed. I just know that, the gift of man is that we don't have to stay in this vale of tears forever.
I'll tell you what, I'll close the door on your mausoleum when, I'll write about you. So I
intend to have a sky funeral. Do you know what that is?
Is that where they spread your ashes over the ground?
Incorrect.
From a plane?
No.
Okay.
It is when no, close. It's when they put your corpse out on the mountain range and allow birds of carrion to digest you.
No, that's very very pleasant thought. We'll see what your daughter Marlo has to say when she gets to that point.
Yeah. Hopefully she respects my wishes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Go on.
I do like the fact that, again, the two Alices, that's just the two twins with the two numbers. They were actually in things like with the Peter Gunn and Batman episodes. By the way, Roger Carmel was Colonel Gum in Batman's 1966.
That is one of the more obscure villains I don't know.
All right, and then you have Richard Tatro, like I said, as Norman. You would think because he did westerns, he did a whole bunch of films, that Star Trek would be like a crowning achievement and he'd be able to go on, but his career just petered out. So
can you believe it?
That is. One of the other neat changes on the script, they got rid of one of these. With the original character, Uhura became the replacement for one of the characters in there. The name of the original character is name of the last name of the character is Vane, Irina Vane, and I'm like, really? Is this a little bit on the nose for someone who wants to live forever and her last name is Vane? I think that's stupid. I'm glad they changed that. There was one issue to show how progressive this is. Originally, when Kirk gets down there, Harry Mudd hands him a cigar. And there's this quote that says, "It comes to my attention that our cigarette sponsors may probably take exception to Harry Mudd coming up with 2 cigars.
Yeah.
In addition to which, we firmly hope and believe and pray, and I light another cigarette as I say this, that in 300 years from now, the filthy, dirty, and delightful habit of smoking will be a thing of the distant historic past." That was from Gene L. Kuhn.
I mean, listen, he's not wrong. Smoking is on its way out. Although, one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, and actually movies of all time, is Aliens, James Cameron, and everyone smokes in that movie. And what?
Not in Star Trek. In fact, there's a sign on the transporter pad in Star Trek 1 and 2 and etc. It says no smoking.
Yeah,
So.
but the whole point is that I think it would be, whenever I look at that, I'm like, yeah, if they had a cure for cancer and emphysema, then, and essentially if they had like an Elysium type thing where every month we just go into something that kind of clears out our bodies of any detritus, it would be, everyone would be smoking again. If there were no ill effects, everyone would just be smoking instead of drinking and overeating.
Well, that's what they said in the movie Sleeper with Woody Allen. They don't know the pleasures of chocolate cake and smoking.
Hot fudge or deep fat.
That's right. They can cure the common cold. No one smokes, but they can't cure male pattern baldness in the 24th century. That's the one thing. Maybe no one
cares. Maybe it's become sexy.
Well, it is when it's Patrick Stewart and you're
Vosh. Guy. Yeah.
It is 40s. But getting back to our story, they outthink the computers with a whole bunch of rare logics. Oh, nonsense. Like too much happiness makes us sad. Scotty dies. They make a fake bomb. Spock says to the two identical Alices, I love you, yes, but I hate you. But why? We're the same. That's why I hate you. And that just makes the computers just go absolutely bonkers. And that's how they defeat it. Not with logic, but illogic. Kind of a weird way to end it. It's a quick story, but it's a fun story.
You say you are lying, but if everything you say is a lie, then you are telling the truth. But you cannot tell the truth because everything you say is a lie. But you lie, you tell the truth, but you cannot, for you lie.
And I hate myself.
I hate you too. You make me sick, you fat sack of crap.
But I'm the president.
The best there is.
But you just said you hated me.
But not you, the president. The you who said you hated you. You who love, hate Yankees, clouds.
Good lighting. I mean, this is Jerry Finnerman and his experimental gels on everything. Purple, red, orange, green. It's a lot of fun. But that's basically it. I don't really have too much else other to say on this. It was fun to watch the twins walk around. They were not double mint stars. We see them talk this computer into burning itself out. And we finally see Harcourt Fenton Mudd get his just desserts at the end. A real, I would say, almost a torturous ending for Harcourt Fenton Mudd. What did you think of his punishment?
Pretty merciless there.
Yeah.
But, he deserves it. And, maybe, who knows? Listen, he must have loved something about his wife at some point, right? So maybe he'll become a better man.
Yeah, I guess so. But he does actually leave this place. He comes back.
What?
Yes, he does, but it's in the animated series in a story called Mudd's Passion. We'll get to that eventually. You also see Harry Mudd in the 25th anniversary DOS computer game of Star Trek, which is really good. I recommend everyone getting it. It's on Good Old Games or Steam or wherever you could find it. That's awesome. And then in the follow-up episode, Vulcan Rights, I believe it's called, it's also he's also in that as well. But I will tell you, you don't actually see him, but he's technically in the 2009 JJ movie.
They use his ship in Into Darkness.
Into Darkness, that was the one. Yes, they use his ship, but what New Trek has not done is actually given a good characterization of this person at all. He's, as you pointed out, he's not malevolent or malignant, as you said. He's just a goofball who was trying to make a buck. But he does have it out for Kirk, that's for darn certain. So, but then again, Kirk is got the weight of his world. He's Horatio Hornblower on him, and he's always worrying about things. I do like that, but that's how it ends. We got Harry Mudd surrounded by 3 copies of his wife yelling at him, of which there are
497 more to go.
Oh, God. I don't know. Would you, I'm sure your wife will not ever nag you, and she never does. Mine never
I gotta say, mine is, my wife, she can't...
Take my wife, please.
No. I love my wife, guys. I got lucky. She's a lot of fun. She's gorgeous, and she's intelligent and the whole 9 yards, and she doesn't really nag me, but then again, I try not to give her any reason to. But that being said, she also hates any of these, like, take my wife, please take her jokes. She's not a fan of those types of things.
What a surprise.
I know.
Is?
Well, I don't know. She's just like, hey, stop that. So when I told her about that, I was telling her about the episode. I was like, honey, you would have hated the ending of this. Because it's all about, hey, look, this guy's stuck with his shrew of a wife.
Yeah, so I said that to my wife, too. She actually said that, oh, yeah, that's the one where his wife nags him to death, right? And I went, yes, dear. One other neat thing about this, it was a 2-page spread in TV Guide where they took all the actors and actresses with all the twins, and they stood there, and it was called 4x4 Twins 2000 Androids. That's what it was called. That's what the article was called. And this was reviewed very well, and it came in second overall. And they were actually going to do another Mudd story, but that was for the 4th season of Star Trek that never happened. However, here's another thing where Harry Mudd technically should have been in here. He was going to be in the Trouble with the Tribbles episode, but Roger Carmel was not available. But we'll come to that when we come to that.
See, that would have made sense that he had found the Tribbles and was selling them without, I assume that he was the guy who introduced the Tribbles.
Yes. And again, New Trek ruins Tribbles as well, but we're not going to get into that.
Oh, God, that was the stupidest thing. And here's the thing. I hate that. I'm a big H. John Benjamin fan. I've been a fan of him for years, ever since he was in his 20s, doing Dr. Katz.
That was a great
voices.
episode.
Oh, yeah, great show. And, they make... They're like, oh, Tribbles are genetically engineered to be sources of meat. I'm like, what are you talking about? And not only that, that's like needlessly, freakishly sadistic on the part of this guy. Like, you just want to create a race of self-replicating, super cute meat blobs so you can eat them in steaks.
Cereal,
right?
And cereal, and of course, in your precious Picard season 3, they have a carnivorous Tribble. I don't like the attack.
It was an experimental thing that, yes, you know what? It would be a smart thing that a Black Ops site would say, hey, maybe we make these self-replicating creatures vicious that would kill an entire society.
Sorry. No. But one of the neat things that when the Tribbles do come back in the animated series in an episode called More Tribbles, More Troubles, also written by David Gerrold, you get to meet a Glommer. And you can get the plush toy on David Gerrold's set. There's things that eats Tribbles. So that's pretty cute. But Walter Koenig had a good time doing this. George Takei was noticeably absent except for the beginning portions of it. They actually had Chekhov there most of the way because they were introducing him to the audience.
Hey, his wig got much better.
Oh, right. After that Beatles episode, Beatles haircut, rather. Oh, God, that's terrible. Terrible. But that's really all I have to say on this episode. It's a lot of fun. They are outwit the robots. They figure a way to get back to their ship, and Harry Mudd gets his just desserts. It's not draggy. It moves at a nice clip. It's well shot. It has a lot of talking, more than I do, but it's a lot of fun. What do you think?
I loved it, and I'm ready to give my... Wait, hold on. Let me check. Let me guess how much this cost.
Okay.
Big cast, some new sets, some makeup up close. I feel like they probably went over budget. I'm going to say $218,000, 500.
That's a really good question. This is one episode that has almost no budgeting information in the research over there, but I do know it was budgeted for $182,431, which in 2024 numbers is $1,722,175.95. They actually reused a whole bunch of sets and props and costumes all throughout this. They may have actually hit it, but I was trying to find out what was the actual amount on that they spent, and I couldn't find any. I went to Wikipedia, went to my book sources, flipped a coin. I asked my computer, but they said, I'm sorry, I'm not programmed to answer in this area, so it was a little bit tough. So
well, it doesn't really matter. Shall we get to reviews?
Sure. Using our top, very scientific 1 to 10 scale, Mike, what are you going to give I'm Mudd?
I'm going to give this episode... I'm torn. I'm going to give this episode a... Fudge. Hold on. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And I'm trying to figure out why I don't want to give it a 9 out of 10. And I think that the only reason why I don't want to give it a 9 out of 10 is because maybe there should have been a little bit more plot. A little bit more. But, oh, God, I don't know, but I did enjoy it. No, but 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 because I can't say that it's not on the same level as the other ones that I've given 9 out of 10. But I love this episode. It's great, strong endorsement.
I got to tell you, we match finally. Huzzah!
There we are.
I am giving it an 8 out of 10 as well. I think it loses it when they get a little bit too illogical at the end. I wanted more. I kind of want to see, like, let's go see that big scientific lab Scotty was in. Or let's see something, what else is going on here. We've got like 4 rooms. But I still enjoy it. It's fun. Roger Carmel as Harcourt Fenton Mudd is always a good time. He's a fun actor. Everyone enjoys him on the set. They always treated him like a friend, even though it's been, a year or two later. I do like the twins, the Alices that are always breaking down. And I love Norman. I love that entire bit. It's a lot of fun. A little bit light on the science. And I think it's torture at the end to, that's kind of cruel and unusual punishment to be henpecked to death. So I don't think that's good. But there you go. It's a good episode. It's a lot of fun. You got robots. You got attractive people in the background. You get to see the green dress that was from Mudd's women in the very last scene. So there you go. It's a good episode. So guess what? Next episode's coming up. Our next episode, after someone's marathon, is going to be called Metamorphosis.
Oh, boy.
Yes. It's a weird one, but it's a lot. It's a weird one, but it's very important to the entire structure of Star Wars, and I will say it kind of relates to First Contact, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek, Metamorphosis.
You said Star Wars. I'm sorry.
No, I said Star Wars? Oh my God. I'm going to have to edit that out. Who am I? Maybe it's the flu shot that I had today. It could be that. But that's it. So what else you got going on? I already put the shirt on of you running. If you hear Finnegan in your head, you can thank me. So
nothing. I'm taking it easy this week. Ironically, when I'm prepared for a marathon, I tend to look the worst because I eat more carbs and exercise less, so I get all gushy. But that means I've got my glucogen stores and I'm ready to run a nice long race. We'll do it. Basically, the name of the game is you're going to try to sleep as much as possible this week. But I'm going to go into work tomorrow, meet some clients, and Captain, pleasure as always. Thank you for guiding me, and this was a great time. I had a really good time with tonight's episode.
I think you may actually like the next episode as well. It's more intellectual, I will tell you that.
Dude,
Metamorphosis.
That would be 3 for 3, which is I think that might be a record if that happens.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And that'll be coming up next on our next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. We're going to probably take a break since my co-host is running a marathon in Atlantic City. Yes, I'm going to attend that. Maybe we'll post pictures. Yep, and in the meantime, if you like what we're doing or you want to just reach out to us, you can always email us at yellingatgas@gmail.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of your podcatchers out there and on YouTube. Hit that little notification bell to remind you of when our next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomaly is coming out. And don't forget to stop at our TeePublic t-shirt store and get yourself some nice merch. Show your Yelling at Gaseous Anomaly pride and get a t-shirt, get a coffee mug, a hat. Get something, people, so you look the part. It's a lot of fun. And that's basically it, yeah. Other than that, I wish Mike the best. I hope everyone is doing that as well. And we'll see you on the next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. And live long and prosper. And see you out there.
Now you'll find yourself back among us illogical humans again. Which I find eminently satisfactory, Doctor. For nowhere am I so desperately needed as among a shipload of illogical humans.
No.